The year 1925 stands as a pivotal moment in the annals of history, a year brimming with events that would irrevocably shape the course of the 20th century. It was a time when the world was still reeling from the aftermath of the Great War, yet looking forward with a mixture of hope and trepidation. The scars of the past were still fresh, but the promise of a new era was tantalizingly close. It was a year of stark contrasts, where the glimmer of hope for lasting peace following the devastation of World War I intersected with the ominous rise of ideologies that would plunge the world back into chaos. The League of Nations, established to prevent future conflicts, was both a symbol of hope and a reminder of the fragility of peace. From groundbreaking scientific discoveries to tumultuous political upheavals, 1925 bore witness to a world in flux, grappling with the echoes of the past and the uncertainties of the future. Scientists were making strides in fields like physics and medicine, while political movements were gaining momentum, challenging the status quo and pushing for change. As the Roaring Twenties roared on, a sense of cautious optimism pervaded the globe. Jazz music filled the air, symbolizing the cultural renaissance that was taking place. People flocked to dance halls and jazz clubs, eager to embrace the new, carefree spirit of the age. The wounds of the Great War were slowly beginning to heal, and nations yearned for a return to normalcy. Memorials were erected to honor the fallen, and communities came together to rebuild and recover. The desire for stability and peace was palpable, yet the shadows of the past loomed large. Technological advancements promised a brighter future, while cultural shifts challenged societal norms. The advent of automobiles and new technologies revolutionized daily life, making the world feel smaller and more connected. Meanwhile, the flapper girls, with their bold fashion and liberated attitudes, epitomized the changing roles of women in society. Yet, beneath the surface of this apparent progress, tensions simmered, ready to erupt and reshape the geopolitical landscape. Political speeches and street unrest were common, as various factions vied for power and influence. The seeds of future conflicts were being sown even as the world seemed to be moving forward. The year 1925 serves as a microcosm of the 20th century itself, a complex tapestry woven with threads of hope and despair, progress and regression. Inventions and cultural shifts were transforming society, yet political tensions threatened to unravel the delicate balance that had been achieved. By delving into the key events of this tumultuous year, we gain a deeper understanding of the forces that shaped our world and continue to resonate today. Newspapers chronicled the major events, capturing the zeitgeist of the era and providing a window into the hopes and fears of the people. Join us as we embark on a journey back in time to explore the triumphs, tragedies, and transformations that defined the year 1925. Through the lens of history, we will uncover the stories that have left an indelible mark on our collective consciousness, shaping the world we live in today. In the heart of Europe, a glimmer of hope emerged from the shadow of war. The continent, ravaged by the unprecedented destruction of World War I, was in desperate need of healing and rebuilding. The scars of the Great War were still fresh, and the memories of the trenches, the bombed cities, and the countless lives lost lingered heavily in the collective consciousness of Europe. The Locarno Treaties, signed in October 1925, represented a concerted effort by European nations to secure a lasting peace. These treaties were not just pieces of paper. They were symbols of a collective desire to turn the page on a dark chapter of history and to build a future based on mutual respect and cooperation. These agreements, negotiated in the picturesque Swiss town of Locarno, aimed to normalize relations between former adversaries and prevent another devastating conflict. The serene environment of Locarno provided a stark contrast to the tense and often hostile negotiations that took place, underscoring the importance of finding common ground. The cornerstone of the Locarno Treaties was a commitment to maintaining the territorial integrity of Germany's western borders as defined by the Treaty of Versailles. This was a crucial step in ensuring that the grievances that had led to the First World War would not be repeated. Germany, France, Belgium, Great Britain, and Italy were the primary signatories to this landmark agreement. Their participation signaled a collective commitment to peace and stability in Europe, a commitment that was sorely needed in the volatile post-war period. Their signatures on the treaties symbolized a willingness to move beyond the bitter resentments of the past and forge a new era of cooperation. The act of signing was more than a diplomatic formality, it was a powerful gesture of reconciliation and hope. The Locarno Treaties were hailed as a diplomatic triumph, a testament to the power of dialogue and compromise. Celebrations erupted across Europe, as people dared to believe that a new era of peace and prosperity was within reach. They ushered in a brief period of relative stability in Europe, fostering a sense of optimism that the scourge of war had been banished. The treaties gave people hope that the horrors of the past would not be repeated, and that a brighter future was possible. However, the hope engendered by Locarno would prove to be fragile, as the seeds of future conflict were already being sown elsewhere. The political landscape of Europe remained complex and volatile, and the treaties, while significant, were not enough to prevent the eventual descent into another devastating war. In the same year that witnessed the signing of the Locarno Treaties, a sinister event unfolded that would cast a long shadow over the world. In July 1925, a little-known political agitator named Adolf Hitler published the first volume of his autobiographical manifesto, Mein Kampf, My Struggle. This rambling, hate-filled tome laid bare Hitler's twisted ideology, a toxic brew of nationalism, anti-Semitism, and a lust for power. In the pages of Mein Kampf, Hitler articulated his vision for Germany's future, a future built on racial purity, territorial expansion, and the subjugation of entire peoples. Few could have predicted the full horror that would result from the ideas espoused in Mein Kampf. The book initially sold poorly, and was largely ignored by the German public. However, it would later become the blueprint for Nazi Germany's reign of terror, a stark reminder that even the most fringe ideologies can have devastating consequences when given the opportunity to take root. While Hitler's star was still in its nascent stage, another demagogue was consolidating his power in southern Europe. Benito Mussolini, the leader of the National Fascist Party, was making significant strides in Italy, a country that had been grappling with political instability and economic turmoil. Benito Mussolini, the charismatic leader of the National Fascist Party, had been steadily tightening his grip on Italy since his appointment as prime minister in 1922. His rise to power was marked by a combination of political maneuvering and brute force, which allowed him to outmaneuver his opponents and gain control over the Italian government. In 1925, he made a decisive move to transform Italy into a full-fledged fascist dictatorship. This year marked the beginning of a series of laws and decrees that would dismantle the democratic institutions of Italy and replace them with a totalitarian regime centered around Mussolini's vision of a new Roman Empire. Mussolini's regime was characterized by its suppression of political opposition, its exaltation of the state above all else, and its use of violence and intimidation to silence dissent. The Black Shirts, Mussolini's paramilitary force, played a crucial role in enforcing his policies and maintaining an atmosphere of fear and control throughout the country. He abolished freedom of the press, outlawed opposition parties, and established a system of state censorship that stifled any form of criticism. Journalists who dared to speak out against the regime were often imprisoned or worse, ensuring that only pro-fascist propaganda reached the Italian public. Mussolini's rise to power marked a significant turning point in European history. His success in establishing a fascist state in Italy served as a blueprint for other authoritarian leaders and movements across the continent, demonstrating the effectiveness of using propaganda, violence, and political repression to achieve and maintain power. Italy became a testing ground for fascist ideology, inspiring similar movements in other countries, most notably Germany. The early interactions between Mussolini and Adolf Hitler would later evolve into a full-fledged alliance, shaping the course of World War II and the fate of millions. The world watched with a mixture of fascination and apprehension as Mussolini's Italy embarked on a path of authoritarianism that would have profound implications for the future. The international community's reaction ranged from admiration of Mussolini's ability to restore order to deep concern over the erosion of democratic values and the rise of a new, dangerous form of governance. In the early 20th century, women began to make significant strides in American politics. It wasn't an easy journey, though. These trailblazers faced countless obstacles and persistent resistance. However, their determination and resilience paved the way for future generations. By the mid-20th century, women started to hold more influential positions, and their voices began to resonate more powerfully within the halls of government. This era marked the beginning of a transformative period in American political history, one where women were no longer on the sidelines but actively shaping the nation's future. In 1925, Albania took a significant turn in its political landscape by embracing republicanism. This marked a pivotal shift from its previous monarchical system. The country was moving towards a new era, with hopes of modernization and greater autonomy. It was a time of change, filled with both optimism and uncertainty. On March 18, 1925, the United States witnessed one of the deadliest tornadoes in its history, the Tri-State Tornado. Spanning across Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana, it left a trail of unprecedented destruction. With winds exceeding 300 miles per hour, entire communities were obliterated. The aftermath was heart-wrenching, with nearly 700 lives lost and thousands injured. The resilience of the affected communities in the face of such devastation was truly remarkable. In 1925, the city of Damascus faced a tragic event when it was bombed during the Great Syrian Revolt. This act of aggression aimed to suppress the uprising against French colonial rule. The bombing resulted in significant casualties and widespread damage. The struggle for independence and the fight against colonial powers were starkly highlighted during this period of turmoil. The year 1925 was undeniably a year etched in history. From the political shifts in Albania to the natural disasters in the United States and the strife in Damascus, it was a year that showcased both the resilience and the vulnerability of humanity. Each event, in its own way, left an indelible mark on the course of history, reminding us of the complexities and the ever-changing nature of our world.